Mokoye, and I hope you had a wonderful night's rest. Thank you for always joining us on ABS television. Let's now begin the show with a press review. Welcome to the press review. On press review, we take a look at some of our national dailies and, of course, stories making their headlines on ABS website. This morning, we are privileged to have in the studio Comrade Samuel Egwatu, a public affairs analyst. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
We also have Dr. Henry Duru, also a public affairs analyst. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here this morning.
All right, let's begin with taking a look at some of the stories making their headlines on ABS website. Anambra traditional rulers laud State New Yam Festival. Soludo launches Anambra State Anti-Touting Squad. Anambra First Lady uses healthy living campaign to fight malnutrition and nutrition. All right, Egwatu, let me start with you. Which story are you taking first? Do we look at the anti-touting?
Exactly.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I want to first of all applaud the governor for doing such project. To launch anti-touting outfit is quite welcoming because we all know what is happening at Bridgehead and Onitsha and other areas in Anambra State. It seems as if Anambra is becoming to be a headquarter of touts. And for such to be ameliorated, I believe His Excellency Mr. Governor Professor Chukwuemeka Soludo deemed it fit to launch such to curtail the excesses of those hoodlums. Because let me take for instance the issue of revenue. You see, these guys, these touts, they will go on printing all manner of tickets and they're enforcing such non-existing tax on the citizens. You understand me? Thereby robbing the state. And it's not good for the state. We are light of the nation. We need to display who we are. So for Mr. Governor to launch anti-touting outfit yesterday is a welcome development. I want to thank him for that. But then I have task for those people involved, the trend as I read from the media out there. Let them carry out their duties as expected, not to use the anti-touting name to begin to
let it not be a double one.
Exactly. We have such of them in the past. So I believe by now, for Mr. Governor to launch such and for them to be there present, I believe this one will be quite different from the previous ones we used to have. Thank you.
Let's hope so. All right. Henry, any story you're taking from that before we move to the papers?
Okay, thank you very much. the issue of the anti-touting squad that was launched yesterday, I think I will actually subscribe to the opinion of my co-discussant. Then I would also like to talk about the intervention by the wife of Mr. Governor regarding healthy living campaign, to fight malnutrition and undernutrition. Of course, one thing a lot of us don't actually know is that we have a lot of malnourished persons. We have a lot of persons starving and a lot of persons who are underfeeding. But the thing is that we may not actually know until we approach people who do this kind of intervention, because those are people that such underprivileged persons usually approach. A lot of persons, the United Nations has its statistics on that, which it has been.
Be on the increase this time.
Yes, it could definitely. It will, not just could. It will. So what I will actually advocate is that this thing the wife of Mr. Governor is doing, other persons, other public spirited individuals, other philanthropists should also, channel their intervention towards ending malnutrition and underfeeding and outright starvation in society. We know a lot of persons are doing a lot in education, in empowerment, in skill acquisition, and so on and so forth. But you know that it is stomach first. You have to eat before you get educated.
Right.
Yes.
All right, let's move on now. The first paper for review is the Daily Sun newspapers. Let's see stories making their headlines in front of the Daily Sun newspaper. The banner headline there says, Supreme Court prepares for poll judgment day. We have riders, reserves ruling in Atiku Obi's petition against Tinubu. President insists ex-VP's fresh evidence alien to law. APM drops charges after bashing for filing frivolous appeal. President applauds that Nigeria wins $11 billion PNID case. We have a rider, we've been vindicated. That's coming from the AGF. Fuel scarcity may worsen as 86 firms dump petrol import permit over forex crisis. Mbawo's investors with juicy opportunities, ease of doing business policy. Israel-Hamas conflict escalates beyond Gaza amid relentless airstrikes. With a rider there, Israel arms civilian security squads. Okay, still in front of the Daily Sun, we have FEC approves setting up of Poverty Alleviation Trust Fund. And FG will achieve $1 trillion economy target in 2026, $4 trillion in 2035. That's coming from our president. Tinubu vows to clear forex backing. All right, let's run on this. Which of the stories of interest to you? Samuel?
Okay. Let me first dwell on fuel scarcity may worsen as 86 firms dump petrol import permit over forest crisis. This is quite unfortunate because the masses are deeply suffering. We are passing through hell. The citizens of this country, we are passing through hell. If 86 firms can drop the import petrol permit, probably you see that for us to survive it, it will take us long time to come out of it.
And the general public have been shouting, analysts that come to this place, even while Buhari was on seat, they've been clamoring, give us refinery, but nothing was done actually.
Exactly. You know why I am so surprised, or sometimes I keep questioning myself and the leadership of this country, because we are the one exploring this crude oil. If those people they call at the creek there that used to have modular refineries, maybe makeshift refineries, why can't they give them certificate or permit or whatsoever, what they will call it, for them to go venture into it, this government of this country to have modular refineries, so that they will help ameliorate the sufferings of people. Now, the first thing, I am not against that. In short, before now, I have been supporting this fuel subsidy removal. But it seems that what is going on is just fake. Because if they said that if there is this first subsidy removal, things will be getting in order, especially in the area of this petroleum. But it seems that it's getting worse. Now, yesterday, a liter of fuel PMS, a liter of PMS is 6.25. Do you understand me? And now it's a company. They've dropped their permit so that they don't want to import again because of what? Forex. It varies. It is a dollar as at yesterday is 1,117 naira. Every day it continue appreciating, every minute it's continue increasing. I wouldn't blame them. But what happens to modular refineries in Nigeria? Let's try it. If it fails, then we know that they have tried it. But I don't know if there is anything they are getting, the leadership of the country are getting from this petroleum issue. Do you understand me? So that one is, the pains are much there from the masses. This is what we have. This is the natural resources God gave the country to harness very well. But now, look, it sounds somehow. I continue asking myself. I read geology as a profession. You cannot get crude oil that contains different items. Then you export them. You pay for the exportation. Then after that, they will only bring us PMS and at a higher rate. Man, who is fooling who? So what we need to do, I want to encourage the leadership of this country, the Minister of Petroleum and the downstream and all the rest. They should sit down, let them think out the best way to get this resolved in our country. Modular refineries.
Do you think it's still a matter of sitting down? Is any prompt action
maybe. I believe, you know? I want to say this. Something, I don't know if there is anything there. Once you are appointed in that petroleum department as a minister or whosoever, state minister of petroleum and all the rest, they will no longer be thinking very well. Because I know, look, going to the creek and all these makeshift refinery they are doing there at the creek, and civil defense, navy, they go and destroy. Why can't they say, okay, if these young guys can do this, let's get two, three of them and train them more, certified by the state government, by the federal government, give them every necessary support for them to do it in a way that will be serving at least to some extent.
Even if it's just their locality.
Exactly. You see the price, the pumping price will come down drastically. But they continue destroying it, causing a whole lot of issues towards that coastal areas. Because once they destroy it, the fossil fuels, they float. They keep floating on the river. You understand me? They will not have any good life there in that community. Nothing is going to know now. So what are they still waiting for? Every time, and once fuel appreciates, you see things begin to skyrocket in the market. A cup of Garden, I don't know how much it is now. So what will the pharmacists do?
All right. Henry.
Thank you very much. I would like to talk about the P&ID case that was decided yesterday in a London court, and that has relieved Nigeria of about $11 billion debt. It was around $6 billion before now, and as a result of accruing interest, it has gotten to $11 billion. Yes, President Tinubu has congratulated Nigeria, and there are some persons that have actually expressed happiness. But then I want to comment on something that the judge actually found in that case, which is that an official of P&ID had actually bribed an official of Nigeria's Ministry of Petroleum. So I think whatever that has happened to us is as a result of the decay within our own system.
Compromise.
Yes, we compromised because there is no way somebody will come from a foreign country to actually do this kind of thing to us without an insider cooperating with the person.
Have you forgotten the Igbo adage?
Yes, yes. So what I think we should do is to look inward to solve these problems, because this is not the first time. We remember...
it's not just about on this case.
Yes, not just
when
about...
you talk about compromise.
Yes, when you talk about that, at some point, a former president of this country was also implicated in such. But the funny thing is that since that time, the man has been nearly, winning presidential elections, whereas his accomplice in the United States had actually been tried, that is Senator Jefferson, and he has actually been jailed. Whereas his accomplice in our own country is one of the political opinion leaders who had actually come close to becoming the president, not once, not twice. So you discover the kind of normless system that we operate. This thing wouldn't have happened if not there was an insider compromise. And up till now, I don't think we have done anything to actually ensure that justice is done. So it means that people are not deterred. Maybe it's because of the amount of money that is involved in this one. That is why the nation had to take it seriously to pursue it.
Henry, you'll agree with me that when it comes to compromise, Nigerians, we have our way. If we start talking about it, we won't live here today. But let's run. Let's see the next paper for review, the Daily Times newspaper. That's the next paper for review this morning. Now, $11 billion UK case and versus PNID, Buhari Malami, Nigeria win after over 5 years. Commercial Courts of England and Wales delivers verdict. We've looked at that story, but let's see other stories. Crisis rocks FMC Asaba over intense. Senate uncovers fraud in East-West Road contracts. At NES, Tinubu promises to honor legitimate FX obligations, restore market confidence. Tension drops nationwide as Supreme Court reserves judgment to future date. We have articles cancelled two-thirds justice Olani Beku on how U.S. legal system works. Apex Court dismisses APM's appeal. And okay, the last story before we look at them. Advan drags Akon ministry to court. All right, quickly, let's take a look at some of the stories there. Samuel?
Okay. First, let me take on Senate uncovers fraud in East-West Road contracts. It baffles me when this kind of story keep flying. They uncovers fraud in East-West Road contracts. But I believe that before Mr. President will submit budget for the next year, they must have scrutinized it. But I thank God they discover it now, because I believe the new, I think this is a 10th, is it 10th Senate, right? 10th one, right?
10th.
Okay, yeah. Maybe the minister involved or the House member, the committee chairman from the National Assembly involved must have gone through it again to discover. Because every time East-West Road, East-West Road, they continue awarding, re-awarding the same road. I think during the Buhari regime, such happened, it was stopped. The blame was pushed on the then governor of Rivers State. Now, it's coming from the Senate to uncover the fraud. I don't know how to use it in English from Igbo adage, but things had gotten sour from the top. Because what they used to call it is a padded project. Why like that? Even if you try to pad anything or to increase or to add extra costs, the due costs or the supposedly cost for the project should have been released and the contract keep going on. But when such happen, you discover that 40 to 50% of the budget for any particular project padded is being shared accordingly. So the remaining one, the contractor can no longer carry out what he or she supposed to do. So I believe all these things, nadem, if you allow me to say, because they will prepare the budget. You and I will not be there. We're not there when they prepare the budget, but at the end of it, you still discover that there are some padded areas in the budget.
Until we begin to tell ourselves the truth.
Exactly.
Go on, Duru.
Adeleke suspends foreign trips by government officials. I think we need to look at the issue of cost of governance because when you talk about trips, particularly foreign trips, you will see it as a conduit pipe for uncontrolled spending of public resources. I don't really know the details of the decision taken by the governor, but then I'm trying to look at it from the perspective of saving cost. The other time it was reported that about $400 million was spent in the USA, in New York, just for one trip to attend the United Nations General Assembly by the president and other persons that accompanied him to that very mission. So I think it's time we really, look at these things again. And I tell you, these things have been happening even since the First Republic. If you have read a portion from Lee Kuan Yew's book, that is From Third World to First World, that is the former president of Singapore that actually transformed Singapore. When he came to Nigeria during the First Republic, he mentioned about it, said something about the lavish lifestyle of Nigerian leadership. And that has continued to this day, meaning that if all the money that has been spent on that is summed up and then mentioned to you, you might just faint or just die. Because it might be enough to even start a new nation from the foundation. So we need to look at this seriously.
All right, quickly, we take two papers at a time now because of our time. The Punch newspaper and the Daily Independent. Let's take the Punch first. Tinubu's certificate prove alleged forgery beyond reasonable doubt. Supreme Court tells Atiku, we tried as their court reserves judgment on OBLP's appeal, dismisses APM's case. Atiku insists on CSU evidence. Ex-VP's disposition invalid, says Tinubu. UK court dismisses, okay, we've seen that story. FG plans $10 billion to stabilize Naira, eyes NNPCL for Forex. FEC okays $3.45 billion World Bank loan for power others. Now, Oyan Dam flood sacks Ogun communities. Government declares emergency. FGIHS plan 1 billion naira tech talent communities. Slain Nigerian student, NIDCOM probes murder, Nance demands justice. Israel arrests 120 militants, EU backs Gaza aid. All right, let's quickly take a look at the Daily Independent newspaper. FG sets 10-year target to finance $3 trillion infrastructure stock. Assures of plans to improve foreign exchange liquidity, says Nigeria expects $10 billion in forex inflows in weeks, and commences students loan program in January 2024. Okay, Atiku Obi, Tinubu fates hang in the balance as Supreme Court reserves judgment on appeals. Okay, other stories in front of the Daily Independent says PDP Atiku can't get victory through the court. APC vows Army has acquired electronic warfare capabilities. Parliamentary workers to shut NAS state assemblies tomorrow. Tinubu okays Poverty Alleviation Trust Fund with $5 billion yearly. All right, quickly, Duru, let me start from you.
Okay. Regarding the awaited Supreme Court judgment, I don't know what the court will decide, but my view there is that it's unfortunate that months after the election, we are still talking about litigation. So I think it's time for us to reform our, electoral or election litigation processes to
and
ensure.
APC is equally boasting that they
Yes.
are not going to get the.
That is to ensure that everything about election litigation is completed before swearing in, to avoid such distractions that we are having now. You know, we are talking about a whole lot of issues of governance, and yet we are still talking about the elections that brought the current administration. So we haven't actually settled everything regarding that. It's achievable, because if you look at the United States and some other jurisdictions, you see that such court cases end. Remember what happened between President Bush and Al Gore. So it tells you that it is possible. It's just for us to think outside the box, or even without the box at all, and to amend, you know, the laws, both substantive and procedural laws around our election litigation, so that we get the process quickened and get the whole thing done before swearing in. It helps to actually douse tensions.
That means our democracy day is going to, the date is going to change automatically, because in Nigeria, most times after election, people go to court.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But there is a way the process can be quickened. Okay. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Yes, just to amend all the, you know, look at all the laws around that litigation process, do a lot of, you know, necessary institutional reforms to ensure that what happens in other countries, because the U.S., that of George Bush and Al Gore was not the first time their election was actually questioned in court. And that was because it was a presidential election that we had it. There are other elections they hold, including governorship elections. People go to court. That of Al Gore, there was this protracted, the Al Gore and Bush protracted crisis, and then it ended up in the U.S. Supreme Court. And the U.S. Supreme Court said the recounting was illegal and I should stop. Then it ended, even weeks before the swearing in. Okay. We can achieve it here.
All right. Samba.
Okay, let me start from the Punch.
Okay.
Oya Dam, flood sacks Ogun communities. Governor declares emergency. You know, our people always delay in taking action. Last 2 months, they started announcing from NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency.
I think this one is a dam in that their area,
exactly.
not the one.
Yes, but look at, but it will flow.
Okay.
It's overflow from Cameroon down.
Okay.
It will overflow, coming down to us. Even Anambra State, we mentioned one of the states that is supposed to be ready for that. You know, whenever dam overflow its bank, what do you expect? It will begin to overflow. So they must have taken the what will I call it, the information serious. But most times I will not blame them, because that is where they live. That is where they have their whole thing. You understand me? So, but in such a case, whenever such announcement is made, people need to take it serious. Because you can't stop the flow of the water. You can't stop it. And once it overflows its bank, what next? It will begin to cause damages along that area, its route. So people, even this, let this be an eye-opener also for our people here in the state, Anambra State, towards Ogbaru, Anambra East and West. Exactly. Areas. To get ready, let them begin to make shift plan for their own people. Last year, I went to Marine at Onitsha towards prisons. I pity people, because those from across the river from Miatana, right inside, they were moved to one of the primary schools, one of the primary school opposite Catholic Church there. You see the state of their living there, you pity them. And I was asking one of them what happened. They said they thought it will not affect them. Who said so? But you were informed on time. That she said, a woman, she said yes. I said, no, this kind of a thing, once government makes such announcement, begin to prepare on time. And I asked her if they have any of their community chiefs. He said, yeah, they were informed on time to vacate. So government need to as well assist early, not when things has gone that level of damage. Then again, let me go to this one, Independent, where Tinubu okays Poverty Alleviation Trust Fund with $5 billion yearly, it's a good one. It's a good one pending if the committee that's going to handle it will take it the way it would be positively for the masses. Because most times all these poverty alleviation programs is just for them to enrich their own cronies.
You know, Nigeria most times have beautiful policies on ground, you know, but our problem is its implementation. Its implementation.
Exactly.
So I don't know. Okay, let's move on for our time. The Nation newspaper is next in our lineup. We take The Nation and The Guardian together, please. Now, The Nation. A Supreme Court grills Atiku's lawyers over CSU documents, which arrived at the Apex Court dismisses APM's appeal, reserves judgment in Atiku Obi versus Tinubu. We also see forest crisis, federal government to inject $10 billion in weeks, unauthorized dollar transactions to become illegal, consumer credit scheme soon, says President. And Ondo Assembly pushes ahead with Aye Datiwa's impeachment. Okay, victory. Okay, we've seen that. Court, federal government confirms January start of student loan scheme. Quickly, the next paper, The Guardian newspapers. Host communities kick as proposed PIA review shrinks 3% allocation. As injunction elapses, Ondo Assembly reopens Ayedatiwa's impeachment process. Tinubu targets $1 trillion economy, hopeful of $10 billion inflow to ease forex crisis. Okay. APC kicks as Supreme Court reserves judgment in Atiku Obi's appeal. Adeyemi loses again as Supreme Court affirms Usman Ododo, APC candidate. Osun suspends foreign trips for officials. Federal government hits towers, seal $1 billion deal on digital communities. Okay, that's the much you have in front of those papers. Samuel?
Which one will I start from now?
A lot of stories there. Okay, do we look at stopping officials from foreign travel? Okay. Osun State suspends foreign trips for officials.
More than that. Anyway, it will. Yeah, I don't have much because my colleague here.
Okay, you said something on that.
On that, exactly.
Okay.
But is a good policy if, like you said earlier, if we can implement it. You know, just for the government or for the nation to cut down cost of governance is quite important. You know, traveling all the government appointees or continue traveling. You know, it's eating deep from the state government coffers, exactly, and now it will be channeled towards where it is not supposed to. So I don't have much to say that, but
all right, Henry.
I'm interested in what has been happening in Ondo State, and that is reported across the papers, maybe all of them or most of them today. The House of Assembly is still pushing for impeachment of the deputy governor. They have written the chief judge again, asking him to set up a committee. I don't really know why their interest should be to impeach the deputy governor, whereas there is a big question mark hanging over the office of the governor. Governor Akeredolu SAN is not well, because if he's well, he will be in Ondo State. He traveled abroad and he was there for several months. He returned and didn't even come to the state. He's at Ibadan. And that is where he's still taking treatment. And the House of Assembly, instead of thinking about what to do, or maybe to even activate the portion of the Constitution that has to do with easing off a state executive who is incapacitated. And that process is meant to be transparent because it's going to involve the personal physician of the chief executive himself. Then by the time it's established that as a result of sickness that is incapacitated, so that he can no longer continue in that very office, then he will be eased out. It is not impeachment. And if you look at our recent history, this has been recurring. We know of the case of Yaradua. Even when he was brought in, the lights at the airport had to be switched off, showing that the man was brought in a vegetative state. He was incapacitated. Yes, some people were telling us that he was taking decisions, signing documents. We also know of the case of the former governor of Taraba State, Dan Fulani, the man that got injured while he was flying an aircraft. And by the time he was brought in, we found out that the man that was brought in was paralyzed. And people were still insisting that the man was in charge until the man died. Now, this man came back. And people are already insinuating that he's the person that is teleguiding this impeachment process. And I won't be surprised based on our recent history. So I think the House of Assembly should really be independent and think of what to do for the benefit of the state. This impeachment thing is really diverting attention from the real issue.
All right, quickly, the last two papers to look at, the Daily Trust and the Nigerian Tribune. The Daily Trust says FG automates forex transactions as Naira slumps to 1,220 per dollar. Admits illiquidity, pledges to clear forex backlog, come up with critical reforms. NESG urges government help manufacturers with subsidy done. Okay, war. Gaza war. Obey international law, Western leaders tell Israel. Intrigue, suspense as police investigate murder of Maiduguri housewife. FEC okays $3.45 billion loan to finance power other projects. Insurance sector grows from 827 billion naira to 2.33 trillion naira in 2022. Bandits invade Katsina community, kill 9, abduct 7. Nigeria wins. Okay, we've seen that. Supreme Court reserves judgment. We've seen that. Okay, quickly, the last paper, the Nigerian Tribune. Supreme Court reserve judgment. We've seen that story. FG targets $5 billion annually for humanitarian poverty alleviation. We've seen that. Impeachment. Again, Ondo Assembly writes CJ to constitute panel to investigate Ayeda Tiwa. Students' loan takes up January. And of course, how a beheaded man sold his parts to Islamic cleric for 50,000 naira, suspect says. Autonomy parliamentary staff set to shut down national state assemblies. 40 women in Nigeria die daily from breast cancer. Okay, let's take it one after the, we just take two stories from the two papers and we wrap up the show. All right?
Okay, let me start with Daily Trust.
Okay.
Then my colleague can go on. Bandits invade Katsina community, kill 9, abduct 7. It's quite unfortunate that this kind of story is coming up from that axis because it says much about the security network of our nation. It says much about the security network of our nation. By now, the Chief of Army Staff and his team should have done something different from the previous chief, because we know Katsina as a border state, and we know what is happening across the border, you know. And if we continue getting this kind of story, that means that, not for sure, but which means our security network is too porous again. What are they still agitating for? And this is business as usual. If by now they have not done something different, which means they are not ready for it. This is my opinion, though. So it's quite unfortunate. I keep saying it, all the border towards that area, all the border states or all the border towns or states and that's northern axis, they should have equipped enough security network there. I think from one of the riders this morning.
All right. Time, quickly, before we wrap up, please.
That's okay.
Okay. Just to go international, the Gaza war. The humanitarian crisis there, you know, is becoming very massive. And I understand the conundrum and dilemma of Israel. They want to destroy Hamas, but to fight Hamas, you will have huge collateral damage because Hamas does not fight conventional war. They embed themselves among the civilians. So it's asymmetric. So by the time you want to go after them, you also go after the civilians. So it's a serious problem, and I think it's time for that the world actually intervene to stop the humanitarian crisis.
Okay, thank you so much. You can go on, but actually this much time could allow us take on the press review for this morning. We'd like to appreciate you so much, Comrade Samuel Egwuatu, for being here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Dr. Henry Duru, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
And that's it on the press review. We have more coming up on Good Morning Anambra Show this day.